Welcome, everyone. It's Marco Olenijuk with SidelineOfStage.com. The Sitdown podcast is returning. We're very excited today to have singer, songwriter, entrepreneur, now promoter, Tonysha Nelson with us. Thanks for joining us today, Tonysha.
Thanks for having me.
So you're basically getting back on tour again. Basically, Funkadelic is going to be hitting the road and such. Are you sticking strictly to the U.S. Right now, or are you going to be hitting other countries? Or
Yes. So far, well, this summer we'll just be doing the U.S. We did do Japan. Last year we did the U.K., but we haven't done Europe in a while. Or Australia, those are our places. So we haven't done those spaces yet, but this summer, definitely, we're gonna be in your city. It's safe to say. The show days are back to back. So yeah, it's gonna be a pretty extensive tour.
A lot of music festivals being the summertime, or is it gonna extend into other, indoor venues and such?
A mixture. And it's funny because working with my grandfather, we fit in a lot of spaces. So for instance, we can be on a rock festival. Those are always fun because the audience is different, right? And Granddad typically picks another catalog. And then we may be an R&B festival or a hip hop festival. So I love doing festivals because we get to see different acts. And then also we'll be doing our theaters and things of that nature.
Now, yourself being an artist, when you're doing these different festivals, interacting with other artists, does that open you up to other opportunities or other people that you can kind of link in with and might be able to do vocals on a song, or they might, like something that you do?
So obviously working with my grandfather has opened the doors to a lot of opportunity. The first thing that I did that was really big was my grandfather's song, Ain't That Funkin' Kinda Hard on You? And that featured Kendrick Lamar and Ice Cube. And I'm singing the chorus on there. And that was super exciting. That was my first little taste, and the video was fun. And then moving forward, I did Trolls, which we did Atomic Dog, and I think Mary J. Blige and a few other people on that song as well. And then I worked with Soul Clap. So yes, in a nutshell, I've been able to work with a lot of different people. A lot of different producers, singers, Sly Stone, and it's funny, working with someone like Sly, that's an amazing opportunity because he doesn't really work too often. So for me to be able to say, yeah, I'm on a song that Sly is on and my grandfather's on, that's pretty cool to a lot of music heads out there. So yeah, it opens the door to that. And then pivoting over to what I'm doing now as far as running the venues and promotion, that opens another conversation. So to the business side.
So you basically did that song with Ice Cube and Kendrick Lamar. I remember that. That was one that I was hitting on repeat constantly.
Oh, okay.
Not gonna lie, I love that song. That was great. The video, the whole 10 yards. How was that received, or how did that open other doors for you? Maybe somebody that wasn't familiar with you.
I feel like it was perceived well. The video was really good. Video guy did the video. So, and he's super dope. As far as opening the doors, at that time, to be honest, I really was getting my feet wet. So still staying in my P-Funk zone, which is great. Because like I said, the opportunity of being a part of that camp allows me to work with other people. But still, I was still kind of, okay, Granddad, whatever you have going on, I'm there. Versus now I'm more open to, like you said, hey, I got you. If you need a demo, I enjoy singing, right? It started off as something that I want to be successful in it and I need to make it big, to now I had to find my space. Okay. Let me put it like that. I had to find my space. At first it was, I want to make it big. That's it and that's all. Then talking to my mom, because she's my bestie, I realized I just like to be around creative people and I like to be in that space. So as long as I'm able to nurture that space, I'm good. Then I said, okay, well look, as far as the music side, hey, I can sing a demo, or hey, I can do the background vocals, or, cut something here and there. I'm cool with that. And that makes me happy because I'm still able to do what I love on top of working on the business side, if that makes sense.
Sure. Now, as you said, you were finding your way. Now, I know in the past when you and I had spoken, you were also performing with your cousin, correct? Yep. Kandy Apple Red. And then you were also kind of doing almost a double billing, so to speak. So you might open for Funkadelic and be one of the lead acts. Can you talk a little bit about that and just how that also kind of, help with your career?
Yes. So me and my cousin, her and I sang together all our lives. Like literally, she's probably the reason why I sing and taught me how to sing.
More of an inspiration also too. Yeah.
Yeah, inspiration and just teaching me like my voice, as a kid. So Kandy Apple Red, and it's a few of us. Like we're called 3GP.
Okay.
It's a whole camp. It consists of cousins and the band members. If we're not blood related, we're a family. So 3GP were the younger cats in the group, and we all opened. And so it was really exciting because we started off doing a little duo set in the middle of the show, and we would sing a Bootsy song. And then from there, it went to us doing another song that's on my grandfather's album, then one of the newer albums. And then that went to us opening with the other 3GP. And we put this whole show together right before COVID. It was fun. It was a blast. And it really helped us, dive in and hone in on our, like owning the stage and working together as well, because now you're in control of, hey, to the drummer, articulating what you need done. So yeah, that was one of the best things my grandfather could have done for us as far as being an artist.
So he encouraged that also. And then you also had the chemistry kind of working with the other members and everything too.
Correct. Exactly. The chemistry of us working together. And like I said, having to be in control of your set, but also being respectful, knowing how much time you have. And like music is a sport. Right? Like the nature of music, I feel, is a sport. That's the family that I come from. When you get off stage and another band's coming on after you, my grandfather has the mentality like, we're going to kick their ass. You know what I'm saying? So it also builds that up as well. Like who is getting the crowd more excited, which is good. I think that's good for creating what that looks like for you. And sometimes you might be the hype one that gets the crowd going, but then you might be the sexy one. You might be the cool one. Like you find your niche, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, they might not be jumping up and down, but they all think I'm sexy or handsome or whatever, right?
Sure.
So you just find your space. So yeah, definitely. I think if you ask the other members of 3GP, did that help them? They would say yes, for sure.
Now, with your grandfather, I know at times you've looked at sort of that final tour, that send off. And obviously the pandemic interrupted sort of the blueprint you guys had. Where are you kind of at right now with just kind of like how much longer you think you'll be touring as a group and how that's all going to play out?
It's so funny because I get that question all the time. Yeah. My grandfather will be 82 in I think 2 weeks.
Wow.
I don't know. I'll say I don't know. But what I will say is my grandfather has a lot of other great things happening. He has his art. He's a child at heart. So he enjoys doing other things. He enjoys living life and trying different things. I don't see it being a full out tour like it is now personally, but
sure.
Once again, I don't know, right? It's like up in the air. But I don't see it being as like, when I looked at this tour, I said, wow, these are a lot of dates. Because I'm not just a background singer, like I'm his grandchild, right? So there's certain things that I look at it like, okay, that may be a little strenuous on him. Like, wait, that's a bit much.
You're thinking of his well-being also. I'm
thinking of his well-being, right? Yep. So, and a lot of us are, because most of the band and management were family.
Right.
So like, his one manager, Archie, has been his manager since the 70s. So you're invested in the man of the well-being and all of that, right? So I'll say this, I don't know. If you are a Parliament Funkadelic fan and you want to see Parliament Funkadelic, this will probably be the best time. And that's just being honest.
Sure.
Yeah.
This is just my own take. I don't see him going away. I think as long as, like you said, he's physically able I can see him popping up at different festivals or different times, but not, like you said, the tour that you've got going on now, and you start looking at this whole list and like, we're hitting this city and then that city. It wouldn't be to that point. It would be more just kind of
more a little
doing this
spot
one selective.
Exactly, more selective. Exactly. It won't be as heavy. To see Parliament Funkadelic is an experience. I think in each decade, it has been an experience. And so if you get the opportunity, this will be a great time because, as we know, if you're of a generation who doesn't go to festivals, then you may miss, you know? So yeah, I don't think it's going to be as long. I don't think that it's going to be like this tour here. I don't think we're going to replicate this next year. Let me put it like that.
I was going to tease you and say, you don't want to get into that Cher aspect and say, this is the final one, and that goes on for like 6 years. You know how Cher used to do that? So
no, we've already been there. Listen, we've been retirement. I mean, everything. Listen, the stage fuels my grandfather's soul.
Right.
So he loves it. Music for him and our band and my family, it's a sport. So before we go on stage, you know, literally my grandfather would look at us and he'll go like, you ready? Well, let's go kick some ass, especially if we're on the show with other bands.
You get that pep talk?
I mean, he just gets it's more of a essence, and it's more of a energy.
Okay. He
gets the strut, you know, it goes from 81-year-old walk to 25-year-old walk. It's so funny because he could turn it on. And I love it. I'm like, I need to be like that when I'm 81. Whole energy turns on, and it's like, we the shit. Let's go. So as long as, like you said, as long as he's able-bodied and he can do it, we're going to do it. It's just not going to be as much.
Sure.
You know, that's where it's going to change. That moment when you say, oh, I can see them when they come back.
Take advantage of it now.
You better take advantage of it now. Right.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how Funkadelic has evolved over the years? I mean, obviously you've had different members come and go, other little influences. Can you talk about some of that?
I'm still learning. You know, when I look at things from the 60s, even 60s to 70s, it's interesting because if you were there when it initially happened, I'm pretty sure that has been like a whole vibe. My grandfather has brought a lot of people on stage and given a lot of people opportunity to do what they love and take them around the world. And whatever you do with that is what you do with it. I feel like when you're a part of P-Funk, you are able to be yourself. In our community as Black people, that is even more, I guess, freeing. We'll say freeing.
Sure.
Because, you know, there's a persona that you want to sell. And in every space, there's that, right? You know, if you're a rock star and you play rock music, drug, sex, and rock and roll. So there's something you feel like you have to live up to. When you come to P-Funk, literally, you can be yourself. You can be yourself overload. And that's what's cool, right? You can, like my grandfather, if you know him personally, sweet guy, down to earth, easygoing, right? But he's able to live this alter ego on stage. I mean, he's done the wildest, he's worn wigs, he's done some of the craziest things you can ever think of. But that's freeing, right? Because you're able to just do that and then come back home and say, okay, cool. And because back in the 70s, when he really did the makeup and the whole aesthetic was wild, he was still able to live a regular life because no one knew who George Clinton was. They didn't know what he looked like. They had absolutely no idea. So he was able to do that up until he got the colored hair. Once he got the colored hair, it was like sold. We know who you are. You did a whole Atomic Dog video. We got it. That's when I was born in 1990. That's when I would go to the airport with him and, oh my gosh, George Clinton. And I'm like, him? That's who you guys are excited to see? I didn't realize how famous he was until I was at South by Southwest and P. Diddy walked up to him. And I'm a whole grown woman on tour with them. And I'm like, yeah, you know, he's George Clinton. Okay, cool. P. Diddy walked up to him and I'm like, oh, wow, you are the man. Because he said you're the man. So, no, it's, yeah, I feel like it's been a lot of transitions, but It's been great to watch. It's been awesome to watch.
Then you also have the legacy angle because of all the different eras.
Exactly. The legacy angle. I mean, and as far as like Parliament Funkadelic and hip hop, that's a family in itself, right? So this legacy for me and my family and the band, because like I said, we're all family, is very important. You know, I was raised, my mom is his daughter. So my upbringing was very much so, my mom can be conservative. So she's very much so like, when you're out, you represent this family, right? And you are a young woman. And I knew what that meant, you know, as you're not your grandfather and you're not a man.
Right.
So men can live a little different than women. So let's be very clear. So, you know, so I say that to say how we nurture this camp and this legacy is very important to my family.
Yeah, your mom was instilling that in you and just kind of making sure like those values, those different things are there.
Correct, 100%. And she was, she's his manager now. She started off as a road manager, and she's one of his managers now as well.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yep.
When did you decide that you wanted to be a part of the band and your grandfather said, okay, you're ready? How did that come about? Long
story short, when I was younger, I realized I could sing at a young age. I was probably about 4.
It was in the DNA.
I mean, listen, I literally at 4 years old, I did a song with my grandfather and cousins. I had a little part, okay? Like, I think my part was like party people pumping their fists like this, okay? Now at 4, I had a really heavy lisp. So, but he got me together and I was in the studio. But then I remember certain songs like I Will Always Love You. Literally, my mom has a video of me singing that to my warm teddy bear. And other songs by Jay, Don't Walk Away, like TLC, you know how that goes. In school singing, yada, yada, yada. And the kids are like, you can sing. And I'm like, can I now?
You're hearing that from others.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm like, can I now? So I started choir at a very young age. I always did choir all through school. The funny part is I got pregnant. First of all, I always wanted to be an entertainer. That was like my dream, right? Got pregnant at 16, had my son at 17, thought to myself, okay, what's next? This is going to be crazy. I have a wonderful family. They were very supportive. Went to college. That was a floozy. That didn't work. It was too much weight. I completed high school, look, with honors, because I remember saying to myself, okay, you got to make something pop here. You got to balance this out. So I ended up going to college. Didn't do too well. Flunked out. 19, my mom says to me, you need to think about what you want to do. And I'm like, what do I want to do? And I was too afraid to say, I want to sing.
Right.
So we're going through our mom and daughter thing, you know, and you know how that goes. And we're going through it. And finally I said, you know, well, can I go on the road with granddad? And she said, let's do a trial, see if you like it. And she told me, I will help with your son. As long as you are working and you are taking care of your child and you're pursuing, you know, you're pursuing your goals.
And being productive.
And trying, I will continue to help you. Got on the road, I was about 21 and loved it. And I've been rocking ever since. My grandfather was very receptive to it. And there were spaces that makes it, in some spaces easy and then in others hard. Because like my cousin's the road manager, right? So at the same time, like I'm her baby cousin. So it's like, yeah, don't make us look stupid. You know what I'm saying? It's that type of pressure, right? It's a little more personal when it's your family member.
Well, you got different eyes on you and some of them are family.
Correct.
So some of them are looking out for you. Some of them are also looking going, don't mess this up or don't do such and such here, act out of turn or whatever the case may be.
Exactly. So, but it worked out. It worked out great. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the business side of things as well. Watching my mom throughout the years, watching my cousin, being the road manager, watching just the band. I learned a lot. So It was great, actually. I'm so happy I did it. So happy my mom allowed me the opportunity.
Now, the size of Funkadelic, and then you guys do a tour and you kind of get all that organized. Can you talk about just some of the logistics of kind of how that all comes together? Because even now you're going back on the road and people are coming from different cities or you're doing different things. Mm-hmm. How hard or challenging is it to kind of get that all, put together in a nice package?
It's funny because back in the day, my granddad said it were like 3 tour buses and a pickup truck, not a pickup truck, a 18-wheeler, because that's what held the mothership. Or when they did the Aqua Boogie tour, they had like all these props, right? So I'm gonna say compared to that,
you've downscaled over the years.
Yeah, I'm not gonna complain too much, especially back then they didn't have all the great things we have, like cell phones and all that, right?
For communication.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm not gonna complain too heavy, but what I will say is this. I do the bookings for as far as hotels and flights. I think there's about 26 flights that have to be done. 24 rooms. The logistics of crew, what time they're gonna leave the venue or leave the hotel, what time is loading, what time is sound check, what time is crew. It's a lot. And when you are just the artist, the background singer, you're not really aware of all those spaces. Oh, but it's a lot. It's a lot. And I always say, like, in this industry, it's hurry up and wait. A lot of it is like, lobby call is at 7 a.m., but then we've had this happen, but then the bus comes and it's not working. Oh. The AC isn't working. It's 100 degrees outside. Okay, so you said we had a show tonight at 8 p.m. The ride is 5 hours. It's 100 degrees. We have no AC. How's this all about to work out? Yeah. So that you run into little tricky things like that. But as of now, we have two tour buses that we're going to have on this tour. And we try to set it up as best as we can. Hurdles come. I've learned that. As long as the show gets done at night and everyone is in great health and we all eat and get a little bit of sleep, we're good.
Without getting you in trouble, is there a funny sort of behind the scenes story you can talk about touring with Funkadelic that you can share? Something funny, but it's... I see you thinking right now, and you're like, if I share this, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, a funny story. There are a lot of funny stories. I just can't tell them because they're gonna be like, that's me. Funny. Let me think of a good, clean one.
Okay.
If there are any. I don't know if this was a funny story, but I know there was one time we were leaving, I think Northern Cal. And a lot of people didn't know, because I didn't know this, that there's a lot of mountains in Northern California. And that our truck had to be, you put the, what are the things on the wheels? Chains on the wheels.
Okay.
So anyway, we go up the mountain, they stop us, mind you, we're in a tour bus, go back down the mountain, you need chains. But we put the chains on. Now we go back up the mountain, which is like an hour each way. We get up there, we are stuck. But my grandfather's transportation is making it to the venue. But we have half the band. So now at this point, we're like, how are we gonna get there? And so we ended up being about 40 minutes late for the show. And when we get there, my granddad is literally up there with like 2 band members, and he's just like bouncing around. He's just killing time, boy. I know it had to be about a 30-minute jam session. And then all of a sudden, we just came running in. Everybody just comes running in, and we're like, hi, people. But like, he's such a professional. He was like, let's go. Like,
he played it off.
He played it off.
Was the audience kind of looking, going?
I'm pretty sure they're like, listen, there's supposed to be like 20 people up here. What's going on? Brandon was hopping
Where's the rest of y'all?
He was a one-man show. It was like a few people on stage. It wasn't many.
Right. You guys are having a hustle from the bus.
Oh, we had to hustle from the bus. I literally ran into the bathroom like, oh my gosh, my hair, like, I travel with a scarf on my hair. I'm like ripping the scarf off. It was a whole thing. We have some other funny ones. I just can't expose those.
No problem. That's why I said I don't want to get you in trouble. That's why there's something,
Right. But those are, I might think of another one later. But yeah, being on the road, we've had moments where we left someone before by accident in Europe, and we look out the back window and we see them running down the ramp on the highway, and I'm like, oh shit. But of course we were laughing. Great that we had cell phones though. So
Hey, y'all gotta stop.
yeah, she's like running and we're like, oh. So that was a funny little moment. And of course they get on the bus and they're like, you left me. Sorry.
That's all right.
Right, sorry.
Somebody couldn't count right this morning.
Right. Listen.
We were off one.
There's a lot of little, like, funny little
Sure.
moments on the road, whether it's like moments on stage. I'm trying to think, has there ever been anything that's crazy on stage that happened? You know, it's funny. There are things that happen with like sound and stuff like that, but you just keep it pushing.
Right.
Right.
You're in the zone.
You're in the
and you've got a
zone.
job to do, and you just keep going.
You just keep going. So that is just what it is. So yeah.
I want to dabble into your solo career.
Okay.
And kind of, you know, how that's coming along and your aspirations and so forth. When did you decide that you wanted to branch out and kind of, you know, start to market yourself and kind of do some of those things on a, you know, on a solo level?
So when COVID happened, obviously that was a huge transition for everyone. When COVID happened, I lost my boyfriend and I was with him for 8 years and he ended up getting sick with pancreatic cancer. So that transition was fast and it happened while COVID was happening. So it was a shit show, an emotional shit show. And so from there, I remember I called up, two of my good friends, one of them being Ebony, and she's an amazing writer, and one being Rock, who is a producer and an engineer, and they live in Tallahassee. And I'm like, listen, I want to record. And it started off, and my cousin Trezay,
Okay.
him as well. It started off as just an outlet. I recorded Black Hole, which is on the first EP. Black Hole really described how I felt at the time. I was sad. I felt trapped. It was a lot going on as far as COVID, not being able to do what I love, working in entertainment and not getting unemployed. Literally, COVID happened March. I didn't get unemployment until October.
Right. Everything was held up.
Everything was held up.
Because in the different countries, obviously Canada, there was CERB and they got that out quicker.
Correct.
And then in the US, they were arguing in Congress how they're going to, you know, do that.
handle
So
the situation.
you, especially in your industry, you're like, hey, like, you know, come on. You know,
Exactly.
I got to eat.
Right.
I got things to do.
They got things to do. And so with those things, and I just say that because with those things is what fueled me to want to record, because I needed an outlet. So I started Black Hole, then I did a song called Super Press with my cousin. Then I got in the studio with Ebony and Rock and another gentleman named Ricky Tan. And we did a bunch of songs. And I remember saying, I said, well, we got a lot of material here and it's good. Look, and it's good. Let's do it, right?
Sure.
And so we ended up, you know, taking it serious. And that's how the first project came about.
And I'm going to stop you for a second. And that was called Gemini Vibes, correct?
That was called Gemini Vibes.
Just so in case anybody's looking, make sure you look up Gemini Vibes.
Yes. I named it that because at that moment, you know, as what they say about Geminis, like we are, you know, a plethora of people. Definitely during that time, because having to smile when you're feeling sad, having to act like everything is together when things are falling apart, was very real at that moment. So I named it that because I'm just a sweet little Gemini. And I also named it that because I felt like in that moment in my life, I definitely was multiple people.
Right.
So Gemini Vibes was the first EP.
You were kind of, because you were juggling your emotions, your feelings, and then at the same, you know, with the loss, then you're also, from an artistic and a creative standpoint, you're handcuffed because of everything that's going on in the world.
Correct.
And then you're trying to find your way. And then you're also thinking of a creative outlet. So you, like you said, you've got all these different things going through your mind and you're trying to keep it together. And that was a lot on you.
It was a lot. It was definitely a lot. And also being a mother.
Yeah.
Cause let me tell y'all.
Explaining that to your son and yeah,
Explaining it to my son.
having those conversations and
Exactly. Watching, you know, my boyfriend, he became sick. And when When he became extremely ill, it was a visual thing. You could see it.
Sure.
So that was tough. And reflecting back, you know, you start to realize that I've started to realize with myself, like, I never even really had those hard conversations with my son because I was in like survival mode with wanting to help my boyfriend, you know, beat cancer and being a mom because he's out of school now, trying to figure that all out. And so you have it's a struggle to, especially when you're a parent, right? It's a struggle to balance school and then their emotion. And one thing I've learned is that you have to somehow figure out how to nurture both. School is great, school is amazing, and you have to do well. You can't just drown.
Right.
But you also have to speak to that inner, you got to speak to the mind, you got to speak to the heart. And so my mom and I, because she's like my backbone, we talk about it all the time. And she says, like, you know, I'm old school. Like, I don't know about all that emotional stuff. Get your ass up. Long as you've been able to wake up, you got to keep going, right? And I totally agree. And that's how she raised me. So I'm very thankful for that. But I'm also realizing that, like I said, you have to speak to the heart. You have to speak to the mind. You have to, sometimes you just have to call and just say, how are you feeling today? How are your friends doing?
It means a lot.
It means a lot. Not about school right now. What's going on with you? You know, how's football going?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So he and I, we work on that because he's a boy. So it's tapping into that different emotion. So yes, that's where the studio came in as like a straight up outlet. Like, I need to be in here. And I gained a lot of confidence because my cousin and I, we sang together all the time. And that was great for me because she made me feel safe. Mm-hmm. So without her, now I'm having to do my own harmonies and I'm having to, you know, do alto, soprano, all that stuff, like singing all those layers. I didn't have her as a crutch. So it helped with my confidence as well as stepping out on my own outside of Candy Apple Red or Parliament Funkadelic.
Sure. Mm-hmm. And then you mentioned your mom. I've gone through that even myself. It's a generational thing. Mm-hmm. I love my father dearly, but because they see the world at a different place because of how they grew up, how they overcome different obstacles. So it's one of those where you kind of take those life lessons and you absorb them from your parents, mm-hmm. but at the same time, you got to take some of the modern day stuff and kind of mix both, where you kind of like those different fundamentals that your parents are sharing, mm-hmm. but then some of the and then try to make your own kind of special formula, so to speak.
Exactly. Like, my dad is hardcore. I mean, he is, what are you doing? What's next? Finding the soft side is like, are you there? Are you there?
Peel a couple more layers.
You gotta peel. I'm his only daughter. I have mm-hmm. 2 younger brothers, but I'm his only little princess. And he's always been a rough guy, mm-hmm. as far as, you know, get to it. I appreciate that, but having 2 parents who are like that, it's like, come on, y'all. You gotta just, I just need a hug and tell me it's gonna be okay.
Right. That's
it. So he and I, it's funny you say that, he and I have worked very hard on our relationship. And it's actually great. You know, it's great. I'm his girl. So I'm like, I need that softer side, right? I want to be able to call you and say, hey, you know, I hung out, or I did this, or today I'm not feeling too great, or feeling vulnerable with someone is
sure.
And sometimes you don't want the person to tell you, it's, you know, toughen up. It's like, you know, just
get out there, Tonysha, and kick some ass. Like you said, you need a hug, and you need that little more softer, sensitive sometimes.
Yeah, everybody needs a man and woman.
Yeah.
So, you know, so you work on those things. But because I'm aware of that, I try to start that now with my son. You know, we work on it. I might not, you know, I'm a hard ass. I'm not gonna lie, but I try to tell me how you feel. Let's talk about it. Let's rewind. I'm sorry. Let's start over.
On the solo part of your career, like with Gemini Vibes and everything, like what was your favorite song? And I guess what was the big takeaway from that project for you when you were able to kind of get it all accomplished, and then you look back at what you had put together with the tracks and everything?
So Black Hole, I don't even listen to anymore because
You're in a different space.
I'm in a different space, and that damn song is depressing to me. People love it though, so that's cool.
There's others that can relate to that.
There's exactly. I feel like my favorite song. Okay, so On Love is like, yeah, one of my favorite. That's where I'm at as far as now, like finding love and being happy, right? And then and when I say finding love, like finding love with a partner, finding love in life, you know, enjoying what I'm doing and being optimistic about what's next. So On Love is like one of my favorite, which was produced by Ricky Tan and written by Ebony Houston. And another one was, well, there's a few, you know what? Gemini Vibes was a whole vibe.
I like how you wrapped that up neatly.
It was a whole vibe.
You talked about On Love, but like, I mean, I did see the video for that.
Yeah.
And it's basically is a cool vibe, and it basically shows off your talent, your aura, like everything. Like it's really cool. And then it also has, it's got like a nice summer feel to it.
Yeah, like it's a feel-good song. It's a love song. Like, you know, when song makes you feel all good inside, like everyone wants to melt.
Right.
and so that's what I feel like On Love does. And like I said, all of them do something different. Like Midnight is such a sexy song. I love that one because it's a club song. It had this smooth, sexy feel. That was also Ebony Houston, and that was Rock. He produced it. So that has a space. And then Compatible.
Okay.
I like Compatible. I like them all. But Compatible was, like I said, when you meet that guy and it's like, I know we're no good for each other, but we're good for each other for the moment. And so, yeah, I feel like every song has a vibe on that EP. When we did that one, definitely wanted to cover where I was and where I want to go. Like, Come to Me, everyone has had that moment with the person where it's like, okay, let's let down all the walls. Let's be real. We know we want each other. What we doing? So, you know, I'm like, yeah.
Have you been able to tap into another audience? Because I mean, obviously people know you from, you know, they might see you perform with your granddad, or they might see you somewhere else, or this, that, the other. Have you been able to tap into kind of gathering a new audience for yourself?
You know, that's where it gets tricky.
Sure.
I feel being related to George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic, I feel like people expect funk. Not I feel like, I know. And so it is a little tricky.
Tonysha, are you bringing the funk with these? I know.
Exactly.
Because they're so used to.
They're so used to
the
this
sound and everything. Yeah.
Exactly. And if you are a P-Funk fan, you will understand that that world is big, right? The pot is big. It's not just this sound or that sound. But if you're just a surface fan, then you're just gonna know the hits. So that's been a struggle for me, I would say, with Candy Apple Red, with my own. But I'm an R&B head. I love R&B. I love hip hop. Of course, I love funk. That's just the aura, right?
Sure.
But where I live, in the space that I feel comfortable in, is R&B and hip hop. So even my EP Getaway, you know, I feel like Getaway was more poppy. Although it's moody, it's more poppy because that's where the music is. That's the popular music now. You listen to SZA, you listen to Jhené Aiko, that's Summer Walker. They're on this like little wave there. And so I honed in on that. But yes, it can be tricky. It can definitely be tricky because you have to get out of that box. You know, the P-Funk fans, they're amazing and they're great supporters. But if you are a hip hop artist, like a lot of my cousins are, then you got to get in those pockets. And that goes into marketing, promoting, really pushing it. And it's not as easy as people think. I mean, there's people making big money on social media and YouTube and stuff like that. So it can be done, but you got to put in the work. That's the best way to put it. You have to put in the work.
That was a perfect segue to my next question. How do you able to keep that creative balance? Like you just mentioned yourself, like you're big into R&B. Other people have these expectations, and then you get some folks that are out there, it's auto-tuned or it's not natural, authentic. You've got a great voice, and you kind of be able to mix that you're trying to find something that you can look back and say, I'm very proud of this project. And you want to basically, you know, have the audience or other people be into it. So it's, you see what I'm saying? It's a lot. There's so many pieces to it, and then to kind of make it a nice puzzle. How are you able to do that?
Once I was able to realize I can make money in music without making it big or being a singer, that's when I started recording for, okay, this is my passion and I enjoy this. So I'm going to continue to record and do what I like, or the people that I market to, what they like. The rat race is not as hard on me anymore, because like I said, you submit a song and it doesn't have this or it doesn't have that, or the subject matter should be about this and you're not looking like this and yada yada yada. And it's like, and I get it. Listen, for me to be someone's manager, I could tell you exactly. I'm not even gonna lie. Like if I had an artist, I'm going to be hard on you. Like, you do need to look like this. I need you to sound like this. I need you to be able to do this. I would be that person.
Sure.
Because you're looking to reach a goal. And listen, Janet Jackson, all these artists, Britney Spears, Cher, any decade or generation you think of, there was a method to the madness.
And they evolved.
Right? But you evolve for the people. You know, no one cares if you don't like the song you're singing. They do. So you mentioned Janet Jackson, because remember, like, she went to the whole Rhythm Nation. Right.
And then all of a sudden that video for Love Will Never Do Without You came out, and everybody's like, damn, you know, because she had gone through the whole Rhythm Nation sort of thing, and, you know, the different songs, the look, the videos, and then she had come out with that song.
And now you got to be sexy, and now it's all of that. I mean, I know, like, Toni Braxton, what is the song? Break My Heart. She wasn't a fan of that, right? No one cares. If the numbers make sense and this is a pop record, you're going to do it. And like I said, I totally get it. But it does, that's when the passion goes into, like, you making money. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? And so it's funny, with my grandfather, he's always made songs that he wanted to make. Luckily, it caught on, right? Luckily, people love it. But till this day, that man is going to do what he wants to do. And I think that's why he loves it so much. I think that's why he's one of the lucky ones. He
having more creative control, so to speak.
More creative control. He never had to, like, conform to what. First of all, no one's going to think more outside the box than this person. Okay, George Clinton got that in the bag. So, like, if you're thinking, you know, oh, well, maybe you go on stage wearing this. He's like, oh, listen, I already got that. I'm already 10 steps ahead of you. I got somebody in the diaper. Okay. I got a man in a wedding dress. Okay. I might be, listen, I see my granddad in a G-string. And I said, why? So he already pushed the button to be, like, extreme. Right. And then the music is extreme. So I think if anything, they probably would try to, like, reel him back, like, George, don't say that. And he's like, no, I'm going to do it. And people have literally, like, that's what they love about it. That's the freedom his music brings.
Form of expression and everything.
Form of expression. So he's been lucky. But yeah, it gets tricky trying to please people. And if you already come, I'm pretty sure with anybody, if you came from Stevie Wonder's family, an example, and you want to do rock music, right? It's going to be hard for you.
They'll look at you sideways.
They'll look at you sideways because they're going to say, okay, well.
Where did that come from?
Exactly. It doesn't, in their mind, it doesn't make sense. All the music is music, right? Right. You know, it's a feeling, it's a mood, it's a vibe, it's an expression. So yeah, it can get interesting for the kids who are born into the industry.
So you've had 2 albums recently, right? Well, actually, 1 LP and 1 EP, correct?
Right.
Do you have any other future aspirations of kind of where to take that, with, as far as your R&B career?
As of now, no.
Okay.
I haven't it's funny. A friend asked me the other day, like, when's the last time you recorded a song? And I'm like, I don't know. It's been a while. It's been a while. And at one point, it's funny because you go through phases. At one point, I wasn't even like singing in my house. You go through phases. And I'll tell you this, if you don't use it, you will lose it. Sure. Because I'm naturally a soprano. And I went to hit a note. And it went, not today. And so I realized that, okay, when you're cleaning, when you're doing things in the home, when you're in the car, you need to be hitting you need to be hitting some notes, or you will just be a straight up alto. That's typically not, my grandfather typically calls me in to do the soprano notes. So I need to get on that. For sure.
You've also kind of gone to the other side, so to speak, and you've also got into promoting and booking and kind of, dealing with some different talent. How does it feel to kind of go from performing and, being on one side, and now you're kind of jumping to the other side?
I love it. And once again, very, very blessed. So he's my uncle. Like, he's a longtime family friend. He was my grandfather's road manager. After COVID, I moved from Florida to Maryland, and he said, listen, I'll give you a job. And I said, great, because we weren't touring.
Sure.
But I knew I wanted to work more in the industry, on the business side. Got with him, worked at our venue in Maryland, but that's the Blues and Jazz. It's like a supper club, 500-seater, really cute. But we had big acts. Like, we had the Isley Brothers there and Frankie Beverly. And so working with him and my aunt at the time, I was able to see what it was like to be on the venue running side. So, helping him book the shows, dealing with the catering in the restaurant, dealing with the box office, dealing with every aspect of what makes this show make sense.
Everything behind the scenes that some folks don't even think about.
Exactly. Only thing I didn't have to deal with was like production, right?
Sure.
Then from there, he said, okay, well, I want to get back out on the road. And so we started running a venue out in Chicago, Country Club Hills, amphitheater. We started running a venue out there as far as the music side. And that taught me about the production side, because him and our other business partner really sat me down and said, look, you're going to learn everything, okay? Everything. Now, production, it's a little tricky. Like, I don't know what plugs going to what, but what I am learning is how to tell who and what and when, where, and why.
What's this button? Oh, no, don't that.
Yeah, I'm not going to be that person, but I'm going to find the man who knows how to push that button. So just learning how the ship runs and how to have a thorough show.
Okay.
From, like I said, writing the offers, doing the contracts, speaking to the managers, speaking to the production manager, travel, like every little piece.
Very detail oriented.
Very detail oriented. And that's what I'm learning with the both of them is that aspect. And so working for that company is Full Armor Media. Working for them has been like amazing, and I enjoy it. And I'm also learning, like, okay, I wouldn't want to do that. Okay, but I do like doing this. I'm learning what I like and what I dislike. I'm learning what makes you go, ugh, and what makes you go, ooh. So that's cool. Being on the business side and being a woman, personally, I love it, because I'm like, okay, I'm the boss. I got this. No, it's fun though. It's a lot of fun, and as long as live music and is around, I'll be able to do this, because I meet some really cool people.
How long have you been doing it now?
Now for about 2 years. 2 years in that space. And then I started maybe about 4 years ago, I started helping my cousin on the road, as far as like the road management stuff. Taking half the band, and she'll give me a task, like, lobby call and stuff like that. And you deal with them and I'll deal with this. And so that helped me as well. And when you're an artist, you do not see or realize how much work goes into the behind the scenes, right? It's so much work, even before you hit that venue. And so I learned a lot. It's a greater appreciation now. Sure, I always appreciate the people, but just understanding, like, when you're asking a question, and when you're demanding things, it's like, I know you think it's easy, but it's not that easy to make that happen.
But it's also kind of adding something else knowledge-wise for yourself. Mm-hmm. Like if your career starts going where you want musically, and you kind of be able to kind of, shall we say, double dip between both sides. Mm-hmm. You know what to make sure is in the contract, or certain things to be written in, and other things going that aren't as important, or to kind of say, okay, that part's okay, but I got to make sure this is here, that's here. Correct?
Correct. No, for sure. I mean,
things you may have looked over in the past.
Right. I mean, my Uncle Earl is super detailed. Mm-hmm. And Bobby, that's the other gentleman I work with. When I say super detailed, I mean detailed. Mm-hmm. Down to everything. Down to, this act was going on stage, you didn't have the towels. Okay. You may think it's small. It's not small. Yeah. Because you're building a reputation, right? And with the contracts, I remember at first I would be so nervous, like, because it's a lot of jargon that you're like, what the hell does this mean? And they talk in circles. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, contracts are like in circles. Like, what? Just say what you mean and mean what you say.
It's the legal aspect.
The legal terms. And so I have another Morgan who works with us as well. She's younger than me, but she went to school for the music business. And so I'll hit her up like, listen, what does this mean?
Right.
So I've learned a lot in that space, because it can be intimidating.
Any upcoming shows that you want to promote on that side, like later in the summer, or anything you want to mention specifically?
Yeah, I mean, at Country Club Hills Amphitheater, we have basically most of the shows there. You can go on, I think it's cchtheater.com. Okay. We have, is it this weekend? We actually have Eric Roberson and Chrisette Michelle. And then we have an old school show with Chubb Rock and Big Daddy Kane. We have Atlantic Star. So it's what I like about it is like a variation. We have like old school acts. We have jazz, like we had Phil Perry and Will Downing. We have Mesa and Avery Sunshine, Jameson Ross. So it's a mixture. I'm learning a lot about the jazz world and that space.
Sure.
Like Mesa, I wasn't familiar with Incognito and Mesa at first. And once I learned about them, I was like, damn, she has a beautiful voice. Mm-hmm. So just learning that. And then we have another venue. We have a show in Redondo Beach with Nephew Tommy. I think that's at the end of this month of July. And then in Atlanta, we have Eric Roberson, Shantae Moore, and that's Mabel House. That's Mabel House Barnes Amphitheater in Georgia. And we have a few shows there as well. So we're pretty busy. And then Bethesda Blues and Jazz, you go there, there's a whole slew, because that's like that's our venue. The other ones, we like book shows there at the promoter. BBJ is our main venue. So there's a ton of shows there.
Which city is BBJ's, I'm sorry?
That's in Bethesda, Maryland.
Oh, that's in Maryland, okay.
Yep, that's in Bethesda, Maryland. And that's, like I said, my uncle owns that venue. And so, yeah, there's a lot of shows there.
Besides Mesa and Incognito, who did you meet that kind of really left a really great impression on you, or it was somebody that just really opened your eyes?
That I didn't know about?
Yeah.
Mesa definitely sticks out because, like I said, I didn't know who she was. And then literally she walked on stage and she opened her mouth and I went, oh, wow. Huh. She's good.
Right.
She's amazing. Who else have I seen live that I wasn't aware of? Phil Perry. Mm-hmm. He was great and he's a super nice man. I knew Brian McKnight was, obviously. When I seen him on stage and he has three band members, it's like him and three. I just because he sounds just like the record. I mean, he may even sound better.
Sure.
Live.
Does he still have his son out touring with him too, or no?
I'm not sure.
Not sure.
I'm not really sure.
I know I saw him. This was some years ago, but he was helping to get his son established and would give his son some time. So I was just curious.
Okay, yeah, I'm not really sure.
Sure. But you're right about like, you shut your eyes and you're just like, you feel like you're in the car listening to him because, you know, when it's a different sound when you're live, but there you are and you're like, holy shit. Like
Exactly.
how, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Jameson Ross, he's a young guy. He plays the drums while singing. Great show. Like, and he's very nice as well. Great show. Most people that I meet, I've had a great experience in this industry as far as meeting nice people. I like the fact that we deal with a lot of like, I don't want to say real artists, but a lot of people who put a lot of time into their craft. You know, Avery Sunshine, a lot of them, they put a lot of time into what they do, and they're great vocalists.
Sure.
And so
it's also sort of more of a, shall we say, like a mature audience, or
more of a mature,
or we'll use the term grown and sexy.
Grown and sexy. Okay. Yes, no, that is what it is. And like I said, I've seen so many people like, and that's that zone that I work in. I would love to actually work with younger artists as well.
Right.
That's the next goal, to get with the younger crowd.
Up and coming.
Like this guy named October London. He's fly. He sounds like Marvin Gaye, but he's young and he's great. And so there's a lot of young cats out there that I would like to work with or see live. Getting the opportunity to, like, when I do these festivals, like when we did Coachella, you know, we seen Migos. I'm a huge Migos fan. So I get the opportunity to see the younger people as well, right? But it is different. You know, their approach and things of that nature is different than the older cats, older people. Or they're grown and sexy people, I should say. So, you know, so it's like I said, in this space, I've had the opportunity to meet people just off the humble of, you know, hey, you know,
right.
We're at a show, we're doing a show together. And then now being able to work with different artists. That's why I said, okay, I want to work with younger artists. So, yeah.
As we kind of wind things down, is there any short-term goals that you have for yourself, musically, entrepreneurial, anything that you like to share? Or
short-term, I feel like I took a lot of time with getting, I guess, my mental health back to where it needs to be.
That's important. That
was very important for me. And so with that being said, because, like I said, my boyfriend passed July 7th of 2020. My son's father was murdered July 24th of 2021. So that basically was within a year of each other. And so I remember saying to myself, as long as I have my sanity, I'm good. Like, and that is what I will work on diligently.
But you were at capacity at that point. I mean, there's just, you can't take any more tragedy anymore.
Yeah.
You know.
But life is so unpredictable. So you say I can't, like, there are different phrases that I just try not to use anymore.
Sure.
Like, God, I can't take anymore. We don't want to.
Yeah, just keep it to yourself.
Keep it to yourself and keep it pushing. I'm a naturally happy-go-lucky person. I've never really had issues with being happy.
Right.
Right? And so when that wall hit me, I didn't know how to deal with it because, like I said, I'm typically like, hey, you know, and naturally like that. Like that's who I am. And so those were the steps: getting a therapist, working on what I need to do to make me happy, making my relationship with my son great, and continuing to be that person because he's getting older. He'll be 16 in October. And so now we have to transition it from like, okay, you are mom and I can tell you what to do, but now there's going to be a point where you're going to be 18 and I need to make sure that you have the tools to make good decisions on your own, right? So working on that, working on my career, making sure that I'm happy, but also understanding that, listen, not everything will make you happy and that's okay, right? There's going to be levels of like, oh, I don't like this shit, but that's fine. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to find other things outside of that will bring you joy. So my short-term goals are just to really maintain being on this space of diving into my entrepreneurship and seeking things that make me feel alive. Listen, my son will be in college soon. Getting him into college.
It's on the doorstep.
Huh?
It's on the doorstep.
It's
basically.
on the doorstep, exactly. So just working on those things, and I have a lot of things in the making.
Yeah.
So we'll come back.
We'll revisit that.
We'll revisit that, right? Because you don't want to speak on it too soon.
Sure.
I have a lot of things that I'm working on that I'm super excited about. And so all those things come out, then I'm like, Mark, we gotta connect again.
You definitely hit me up or I'll be hitting you up.
Right,
That's for sure. That's for sure. Any final words to the Funkadelic fans, the Tonysha Nelson R&B fans, anything you want to say?
Final words. Check me out. Look, I never do good at that. I mean, listen, if we are coming to your city, make sure you check us out. Make sure you follow me on social media. It's my name, Tonysa, on all my platforms. And yeah, just follow me. Like, it's funny because on social media, I really post a little of what I do. Not as much. There's so much going on. But I live a fun life, if I must say so myself. So, just check me out and definitely check out 3GP. There's so many of them. There's Young Poppy, there's Scotty Clinton, there's 13, there's Bouvier, there's Garrett Scheider, Trafiel Lewis. So there's a bunch of us who are doing great things. And yeah, just check us all out.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today on the Sit Down, and it's been great catching up with Tonysha Nelson. Thank you so much for being our guest and just everything you've shared. Really appreciate it. And if you got some of those other things you're teasing out there, definitely be trying to get back with you again, okay?
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.